Heads, we're back. Let's go. Another episode of Talking Stitt. We're in the year 2026, and well, man, we've already got all kinds of things going on in the world. And anywho, it's funny being what I am not a registered Democrat or a registered Republican. I'm a registered Libertarian. And people can bash on libertarians all they want and everything, but the best part we have going for us is to be able to sit on the sidelines and just basically comment on both sides on the wrongdoing without having any bias because we don't have a dog in the race. So, anywho, speaking of libertarians, I got the Tennessee Libertarian coming on with me today. How you doing, brother? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing pretty good. How's it going? Looking forward to talking sit with you.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, man. So, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what kind of made you become a libertarian.
Well, Ron Paul is actually the main reason I became a libertarian. I watched when he was running for president, and I read a couple of the books that he wrote. Was really kind of what opened my eyes to like basically how like the Republicans and Democrats, they're basically the uniparty. Like they may seem like they work against each other, but behind the scenes, they're basically furthering the same agenda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. One little thing, your camera's kind of going a little shaky and crazy, but yeah, exactly. Once you realize like the Ron Paul idea, and they made fun of him at the time, but it's kind of that Back to the Future joke. It's like, oh, you're not ready for that yet, but your kids are gonna love it. And we look back and kind of see what could have been, and a lot of things that like. Ron Paul's the one that pretty much made the term blowback a big conversation piece. And here we are 20 plus years later after the, Afghanistan, Iraq, all that kind of fun, blowing up brown people in the desert because Toby Keith said so kind of, wars and regime changes we've had.
Yeah,
And we look back and we're like, man, Ron Paul was right,
yeah, he really was. I mean, I look at like a lot of the things he was talking about, and so many things Ron Paul was right about. I mean,
I
and
mean, think about like, what are your thoughts on Rand Paul? Did you see his appearance on Rogan the other day?
I didn't see his appearance on Rogan the other day. I've got it on my watch list, but I really like Rand Paul. I just, it really kind of seems like a lot of people don't take him as seriously as like they did, his dad.
Mm-hmm. And he's actually pretty solid, but there is times where he kind of like he does just vote on the Republican Party line and stuff like that. He's not as bad as others, but
Yeah,
another one that's it's a really interesting one, and it goes to show you that when they don't like you, they're going to throw all the money at you. Is Thomas Massey? Is we see all this campaigning against Massey and Trump going crazy against Massey, and like the irony of this whole MAGA and America First and everything. It's like Massey's kind of following Trump's original plan more than Trump has at all.
yeah, he really is. And Thomas Massey, he's always been one of my favorite, people in Congress. I follow him really a lot. I watch a lot of his podcast appearances. He was on was it Free the People with I think Matt Kibbe's the host, and talking about the January 6th thing, and like how the FBI agents were in the crowd,
Mm-hmm.
the pipe bombs, and how that story was basically all false.
And that's the irony. It's like, with everything switching back and forth every 4 or 8 years between red versus blue and all that, democracy and whatnot. Um, it's funny where you see like the things that the people were complaining about the last administration, once their guy gets in office, then they're complicit with their guy doing same things, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, Obama, Bush, whoever, blah, blah, blah. But you look back on it all and you're like, here's a funny thing. Welcome to my show, dude, because I jump around a lot and I just get random ideas in my head when I'm thinking. But, just say like on MAGA right now, everybody's saying about like the ICE shooting with the Renee Good deal, right? And that ICE officers have to wear masks so they don't get doxxed. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
that's something Rand Paul brought up in that Rogan interview is saying that if our regular law enforcement officers don't have to wear masks and they have to show you their badge number and their name, why do the ICE agents worry about getting doxxed? And meanwhile, go back 5 years at this point, the irony that MAGA is screaming that they have a right to wear a mask. Meanwhile, we were bitching and screaming about wearing fucking masks 5 years ago.
Yeah, it really is ironic. And also, I also another thing I find ironic about that is like, I look back at like the Biden era when he was president, and how they would always complain about the cancel culture, and now it's like, oh, it's totally flipped, and they're the ones looking to cancel people now.
It's like Jimmy Dores brought up about like they replaced DEI with a new DEI. Now it's, DE, whatever the hell DEI stands for, diversity, equity, and Israel.
And inclusion or
It's,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, but now it's diversity, equity, and Israel in this administration.
Yeah,
Everybody,
I mean, yeah, it might as well be.
it's a new form of DEI, even though we're like, we got rid of the old one. But
Yeah, I mean, what was it? I made a joke, at work today. I'm like, should we all pay taxes this year, or we just zail Israel directly, or make the check out to Benjamin Netanyahu?
exactly, exactly. And, with all of our tax dollars, I mean, after just all the Somali fraud stuff, which is just a weird, that's another psyop. It does exist, but it's ironic that it's getting brought to the table now, even though that story is kind of a few years old, actually.
Yeah,
But
it
they
seemed
pick and
like the more
choose
I
when
looked
they want
into
to
it,
put
it
it
was a
out.
few years old.
Yeah, they pick and
And
choose when they want to put it out to their advantage.
like I watched the Nick Shirley podcast on with Sean Ryan when he was on there talking about it, and yeah, a few other podcasts, and then I think it might have been one of the episodes of your podcast where it said that like somebody was like paying to push this guy's videos out, and like that's how he went like super viral like so fast or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, exactly. How do you go from a nobody to that big overnight and whatever? It was like what, 100 million plays or something? Maybe, I mean, maybe a
Yeah,
little less than that, but
I'd never even heard of the kid until the Somali fraud thing.
mm-hmm. And then yeah, like my last episode when I had Nate from Reality Stars on, I had made kind of a joke about like, okay, I got kids, and it's kind of weird. Okay, I'm glad that they're investigating fraud and these things, but at the same time, I don't want my kid to be at daycare and have some random ass dude come walking up with a video camera saying, "Where's the kids? Can I see the kids?" Like nobody's really addressing that part. That's kind of fucking weird from the Republicans that are screaming, "Well, where's the Epstein files? What about Diddle and kids?" You're like, that kind of sounds like a premise to possibly have people take advantage of that. Like, oh, I'm going to be like Nick Shirley now and start demanding to see kids at daycares. I don't know. That
Yeah,
sounds like
definitely.
a big problem.
Because I mean, they don't just let you into those kinds of places anyway. Or like, even if you tried to go to a school, a school, like, they're not just going to let you in, especially if you don't have any kids there. Like, it's like, what are you even doing here?
And we're looking at just the tip of the iceberg if all this stuff is real anyways, because like, dude, okay, Minnesota, that's kind of crazy because if you look at what the numbers of, and not to make it a racial thing, but just the flooding of the Somalis and everything into that area, it's insane what the numbers of like white people in the population were to what it is now, like 10 years ago. And so
Yeah,
you're
it
like,
really
dude, if they're
is.
doing that to Minnesota and that's just almost like a little petri dish they're playing with, then wait till we start going after California. Wait till we start going after New York, and if that ever happens, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we're libertarians.
And,
We know that's nothing gonna happen, but we can be hopeful.
and I mean, that's one thing I kind of wonder about, with New York is, with Mamdani taking over is like how things are going to go up there. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
um,
What do you
because
think about him?
it's almost in a way like, I mean, this probably sounds a little racist, but like, did you guys not remember what happened 25, 24 years ago?
Hmm. And yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is, they say never forget. And it's almost like last year, everybody kind of forgot about 9/11 anyways. And we did have the Charlie Kirk shooting the day before. But at the same time, it's kind of weird that it was like, never forget. And then we go about a quarter of a century, and now people have just kind of moved on past it. And like
Yeah,
it's
and there's
yesterday's news.
a whole lot of weird things about the Charlie Kirk shooting as well.
Hmm.
Um, like the plane that took off, like what I think like an hour after he was shot or something like that, and turned off the transponder. Just so many different things.
Yeah. And there's more, I mean, back to like fraud and everything. Once you started digging into like the different shell companies they had and the other people that were under Charlie, but were kind of had hands in financial stuff that whether he knew or didn't know that like it's just like government, man. Like at some point, power corrupts and whatever. So if there's a penny to be made, these people sure as hell are always going to take advantage of it. And then
Oh yeah, they definitely are.
the strangeness of Erica, it's like, man, I don't know. Like, I get the whole grieving widow thing, but at the same time, you're taking over the CEO position of the company. So you're going to have to be the face of the company at this point. And then you're asking or saying nobody can ask questions, even though Charlie was known for ask me anything.
Oh
And then
yeah,
you're coming out looking like Paul Stanley at a Kiss concert with freaking sequin outfits and pyrotechnics going off. It's kind of,
yeah. It's almost like it's a celebration in a way.
mm-hmm, a changing of the hands, if you will.
Yeah, changing of the guard.
Their whole backstory, it just gets weirder and weirder the more you look into it, to where it seems like she did look like a bit of a arranged,
Yeah,
relationship kind of deal.
yeah. I've seen some different things about that, and it almost seems like she was kind of arranged to be his wife in a way.
Hmm. Well, what do you think on the idea of like weirdness and secrecy and shit? Like the idea of the Trump administration and this Epstein files and things, like we're seeing that what at 2016, lock her up, all that and everything. We haven't seen a single politician arrested in 10 years, basically.
Mhm.
They've gone after Trump, but all I'm getting at is like we've had the Charlie Kirk assassination, we had the Butler, Pennsylvania, we've got the dropping the ball on the Epstein files. Like, is there any trust to be had on this Epstein situation? I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right
Yeah,
way to ask the
I
question, but you
don't
know what I'm
think
kind of
that
saying?
I don't think there's really much trust to be had there on the Epstein situation because, like, even with like the drops that they have released, it's a lot of it's still fully redacted, and they did miss some things. Like I mean, there was pictures of like found of Donald Trump, Melania Trump, with Jeffrey Epstein and various other different things in the Epstein residence, and but I don't know. I feel like if they came out and told the whole truth about the Epstein thing, it would just be too much for them. Like the whole thing would collapse.
It'd be like War of the Worlds kind of thing, like the old, the H.G. Wells when they played it on the radio and they said it was all pandemonium because people thought it was a real news report. It's one of those kind of situations where, man, if you were to let the whole cat out of the bag,
Yeah,
then,
it definitely would be because I mean, especially
pandemonium.
like all the different like connections that he had, to Israel, different people in Israel, Ehud Barak.
Hmm. But not just Israel. I mean, the royals as well. Like, that's the funny thing is like
Yeah, like it
this whole
seems like he had
noticing. Go
his
ahead.
hands a little bit in a little bit of everything,
Hmm.
connected here, there, like almost kind of like what, like an octopus,
Yeah,
tentacles everywhere.
exactly. And then that way, I mean, because it was a genius operation in a way, like I'm not defending him, he's a piece of shit, but I'm saying in a maniacal piece of shit bad guy where you watching a movie and you're like, man, I don't like that guy, but it's respectful the damn amount of work he put into it.
And
Because if
like
you think about like you can just sit there and manipulate all these world leaders on the stage because you've got them all doing some
mm,
form of something or another. It doesn't have
oh
to
yeah,
be the kitty diddling, but it could be cheating on your wife with a dude. It could be cheating on your wife with a 21-year-old prostitute who's illegal. Shit that
oh
they're
yeah.
like, dude, you ran on conservative Christian values. We'll ruin your career like that.
Or it could be, you're dressing up in you're dressing up in a dress like Bill Clinton and taking pictures
Mm-hmm.
for Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's the original Big Beautiful Bill.
Yeah.
And then there's also the weird ass photo of the damn oh shit George W with the paper airplane and the Jenga blocks. You've seen that one, right?
Oh yeah, I did see that one. Yeah.
Epstein had both of those photos. And so people
Yeah,
don't
he did.
realize it's like it's a Democrat hoax, it's a Republican this. It's all of them.
And some of them he even had framed in it, like framed on the wall,
Hmm.
like it was art.
Well, it's a humiliation thing. The Bill Clinton one was actually a big framed art picture, meaning
Yeah,
like
it was.
anytime Bill Clinton came to that New York apartment and walked in that penthouse, I got your ass, bitch. Don't ever
Yeah.
forget. It's like just point over
Basically,
that and
yeah.
smile at it.
and just all everywhere. The various different celebrities. One that kind of surprised me was Chris Tucker. Like
Hmm.
that was kind of because like I watched him in like all kinds of different movies, Friday, Rush Hour, and now you're pictured with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. Rush Hour 2, when you go see the scene where they go to the massage parlor and he's picking out all the girls. I want that one. I want that. Don't get in front of a black man at a Chinese buffet,
It has
and
a
it's
it
like,
has a whole different meaning now.
yeah, you're like, ooh, shit. But man, it's funny that I've seen a bunch of memes and jokes and stuff online where it's like all these redacted photos or the squares on the faces and whatnot to protect the victims or whatever. And they're like, breaking news, Jeffrey Epstein had some weird obsession with girls with big black blockheads. It's
Yeah.
like, who
Yeah,
knew
they've
that's his
been
kink.
some all kinds of the various memes about it has been pretty lit.
It's a really, like, back to, like I said, it's like an evil genius operation because you tap into all I mean, you get into Trump, and Trump had the, Miss USA pageants and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And then you have Les Wexner and having Victoria's Secret. And then you have Epstein and Ghislaine. Ghislaine, in my opinion, was probably the one in charge. I mean, we know her
and then
father,
he
Robert
also was
Maxwell.
connected to John Luke Brunel that had
Yes.
the modeling agency, and like I kind of look at it as like now it's like the way I look at it now is like if you're a parent and you have a daughter that wants to be a model, like maybe you should think twice about that with all these different model people with model agencies and pageants being connected to Jeffrey Epstein and like sex trafficking. Maybe you should rethink that.
Well, and names that are associated, because you're 100% right. Names that are associated with it too is not just guys. There's girl celebrities too. And
Oh yeah,
two of them that are pretty big prominent names, especially since I brought up Victoria's Secret, Naomi Campbell and Heidi Klum.
yep,
And so if you think about, this has been my thought on this for the longest time, is like, okay, if Jeffrey Epstein was to walk up to a 16-year-old to approach a random girl and be like, hey, you're pretty hot and blah, 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 they're probably going to say, get away from me, creep. You're like my dad, or my grandpa. But then if you
right. But if
have
somebody like
Heidi Klum or Naomi Campbell, who are big, whatever I'm trying to say, lingerie models, right, or whatever, they it seems like I'm getting a real job opportunity. Look, these are successful people. It's an easier, like they'll suck you
exactly,
in
and
easier
then
that way.
before they know it, they're in a situation they can't seem to get themselves out of. And it's almost kind of like how he would use the younger girls and almost give them the option. Well, like you can get out of it if you could just find someone else to take your place.
Hmm.
And then they were recruiting younger girls to come take their spot, so they didn't have to do it anymore.
And then a lot of them didn't even, I mean, in a lot of those kind of situations, maybe not necessarily the Epstein, but say just in, pimp and kind of situations like that, a lot of the times those girls don't leave because they just get a bigger paycheck. They don't have to do the sexual stuff and they become the madam at this point. They're like the booker for a
Right.
comedian or something. And I don't mean to
Yeah.
laugh about it. It's messed up, but it's weird.
Yeah,
It's
it
like this
really
weird
is.
promotion system. Now I don't have to
But
get diddled and I can
but
get
there are
paid
some
more.
situations, that do wind up like that where, the woman ends up just as involved as the man.
Hmm. Hurt people, man. And dude, it's such a tangled thing because then you get into like the royal family and you've got the irony of what's his name, Prince not William, Prince Andrew, and
Yeah.
him always changing his story on everything because rest in peace Virginia Giuffre, when she was talking about, I remember him because he'd profusely sweat. And then he did this stupid ass interview, whatever it was, 6, 7 years ago. And he's like, well, actually, I have a condition where I don't sweat. I mean, I didn't then, I do now. And that's when the royal family was like, all right, you're making us look way too, we've already looked bad for centuries.
Yeah, didn't
You,
they like strip him of like his titles or
uh
whatever?
huh. He's got a
Yeah.
really goofy long name now. Like they changed his first name. It's not Andrew anymore. It's like I don't even know. It's a really long, weird ass name. Sounds like something out of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
But yeah, dude, they're all in it. It's that George Carlin, man. It's a big club, and you ain't in on it, or you ain't in it. And then
Yeah,
you see, like in movies, how they kind of really push this. Um, I mean, go back and look at everybody's probably seen Eyes Wide Shut at this point. But when Eyes Wide Shut came out in 99, Stanley Kubrick, you're like, man, this movie's kind of wild. It was always just kind of some weird rumors. And then we're in the world now of Diddy story and,
Oh yeah.
Epstein and all this. And you're like, wait a minute. Kubrick might have
And
been
I've
trying to tell us something.
yeah, it's almost, I've always kind of felt like a way for, I don't know, for quite a few years now that like, whether it's the TV or the news, like, well, not the news, but like the movies or the TV, it's like they always leak the truth out in the movies or the TV shows and, lie on the news basically type
Hmm.
thing.
Truth in the
Because
movies,
it's like,
lies in the
even with like,
media.
you look back at some of the movies that we've seen when like the artificial intelligence in the movies, and now we're living in the era of AI. It's almost like they were, kind of warning you about the future in a way.
Yeah, well, think of Minority Report. That's one of my favorite examples. I'm a Tom Cruise defender. I don't defend Scientology, but people they forget Tom Cruise is a pretty damn good actor, man. He's been in some great movies. But go
Yeah,
back
he
and
really
watch.
has had. He's done some really good movies.
You go watch Minority Report, man, and you're like, haha, the future looks crazy when it's a brand new movie. You look back 25, I think it came out 2000 and 2001. I think 2001. You look back 25 years now and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. That future looks realistic now. Like this,
Yeah,
we're in
yeah, it
this
really
mode
does,
of,
especially
we're,
with like the Palantir and like the
mm-hmm.
involved with like the predictive policing,
Yeah.
policies in certain areas and
Look at look at UK and everything. They're cooked right now, man. Like they've been, what was, Pierce Morgan was talking about the other day. And I love and hate Pierce. I like Pierce because he's a shit stirrer and I like how he's just willing to say shit that he's probably not supposed to say over there.
oh
But,
yeah,
anyways, he's kind of a dumb, useful idiot at the same time,
there's
like a Bill Maher.
really not
Oh,
a
you're freezing up on me.
lot of people that do that anymore. That like sign
Sorry, say that again. You kind of froze up on me. Your video froze.
do that these days. That speak their mind. They're are afraid that that say the wrong thing. I'll offend this person or I'll offend that person.
Hmm. And that's the problem we got to is by we became complacent, frogs in the boiling pot. We didn't know it was boiling. It's just 1 degree at a time, losing the
And it makes
freedom
me
at.
think of like kind of makes me think of one of your podcasts you done with your friend Nate, where basically he said that like we can't be controlled by words, and I'm like I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, that's our, I mean, especially as Americans, that's our freaking First Amendment right. And it's like the irony, they make hate speech laws. Bitch, that's what the First Amendment is for, whether you like it or not. I'm not going to, but I should be able to say whatever hateful thing I want to, as long as I'm not physically harming a man, woman, or child or stealing from somebody in the process. But,
Yeah, exactly.
it's like
Like they're just words.
words are words, dude. Yeah, it's a joke, not a dick. Don't take it so hard.
Exactly.
But I was gonna say Minority Report, it's a funny thing that everybody remembers like, okay, the pre-crime idea in UK, you've got like 10,000 plus arrests in the last year for social media posts. That's
Yeah,
insane.
for posting memes, that's wild. Like
But you don't get
and I
arrested
think
for
about
raping white girls in the streets in the UK. But
and I
anyways,
think
yeah.
about some of us here, and it's like man, they would have threw us in jail a long time ago for some of the things we post if we were in the UK. It's
Hmm.
crazy.
It's like that's always a good place to look is to see what like Europe is up to or Canada. Those two are usually like if they're trying it there now, it's a test, and then if it works, they're gonna try it here next. Have you noticed that
Yeah,
over time? Yeah.
that's kind of what I've always thought too. And like even with China, some of the things they do over there, I feel like at some point will make its way over here with like social credit score and type things like that.
Class systems and things like that, like India and everywhere else. It's like, I mean, hell, if we're importing half of those people over here all the time, anyways, like, let me ask you this, not to sound like on the movie Civil War, like, what kind of American are you? But like, what kind of libertarian are you? Because there's a divide in some libertarians where I'm more on the Dave Smith side, where, okay, I'm non-interventionalist. I don't want war. I've 30. I don't know, 30 to 50% of my family is all military veterans and things. So I respect the military. I don't want war and I don't want open borders. You can't have a solid country with open borders. So like what are
Right.
your
Yeah.
thoughts on the open border situation?
And that's where like me and a lot of other libertarians do disagree because like me personally, I'm not for open borders either. Like because you don't know where some of these people are coming from or like what they've done, and it's kind of like I can't remember who said it, but like if you import the third world, you become the third world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and half of the people that we import are because of like the first part I was saying, the non-interventionist shit is like not only do you have blowback, like Ron Paul said, excuse me, I had to burp. Like you have blowback in these situations because if you go over there and shoot a 25-year-old or let's say a 35-year-old jihadi that has a 12-year-old son, right? And he sees his dad getting mowed down by this big, excessive military force, maybe not excessive, but just whatever. Hear me out. I'm talking to the listeners, not you. But you see him get shot, and then you're like, they just killed my dad. So then you just created the next terrorist because he goes picks up his AK and he's moving on to go for fucking blood. And then you think of also the idea of the borders. Majority of the people that are coming here are because of a lot of these situations that we've done in all these other countries, and then we're sending all
Yeah.
these refugees. So it's ironic that like the Republicans like Lindsey Graham, who's jizzing in his pants every time Iran gets brought up, or any other Ted Cruz or any other war hawk, the fact that they were thumbs upping, Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia invasion, all these different things we've done in the past. The General Wesley C. Clark, 7 countries and or five, yeah, 7 countries, 5 years, shit. Long story short, I'm saying the irony of that blowback that you go attack these people because you're a warmonger and then you bitch about the immigration problem while you just shipped over 25,000 Iraqis and 75,000 this and seven, you know what I mean? It's
Oh yeah.
ridiculous.
Basically, because I mean, you really are creating more terrorists. When like you see, if you're someone living in that country, yeah, like you said, and you see your parents get killed, like what are they going to do? They're going to pick up a rifle and want to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Radicalized.
And I'm totally anti-war. Like as it comes to like libertarian, like me personally, I don't think we should have military bases all over the world and play like we're the world police.
I'm 1,000% with that. That's what it's like the military to me is a funny thing because, you get people that are like, well, you got military family members and this and that, are you shitting on them? Any enlisted person, whether they went for the right reasons or they got tricked, because almost every military soldier I've had come on this podcast will always tell you, hey, signed up for this. It wasn't that when we got over there, and so there's a lot of false
Right.
promises and a lot of lies. And we'll get you free college, you'll get a free Dodge Charger, we'll get all these incentives to get you there, and then you're like, hey, this isn't what you told me it was. So my point is,
Yes.
yeah, like with you, like these military bases and stuff, if China or somebody else was to do the same thing, we'd be up in arms, we'd be outraged. But it's like we get to do it. Rules for thee and not, or yeah, whatever. Rules for thee and
Rules
not for
for
me.
thee and but not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's a wild world we live in, and like I don't have any disrespect towards anybody in the military. Like I respect anybody who decides to enlist. I just feel like it's the politicians. They use them. In most cases, some of my friends signed up right after 9/11. Some of the people
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with, they served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And when they came back, like you said, they said it wasn't what they thought when they got over there, but like totally different people, nowadays because of, PTSD from, whatever, happened over there or
And yeah, dude, you see some horrific things, and exactly like the 4-star generals and the politicians are kind of what I was trying to get to, because when you get to that level of the military, you're in like the politics side of the military. You're never going to be
yes.
boots on the ground. You're a guy in a little damn war room playing the game, the board game Risk in real time is what you're doing, and you've got your big war room and your little setup with all the countries, move our little markers here. And I'm not diminishing it, but it's like these are the people that aren't going to be out there dying. These people's kids aren't going
Exactly.
to be out there dying. Megan
They're
Kelly brought up a really great point on Tucker the other day that she was talking about this idea of, going to war with Iran and whatever, and or Iran and Venezuela, but talking about putting boots on ground if we have to and whatever. And she goes, whose boots? She's like, I think she said a 13 and a 15-year-old son. Whose boots? Like, my
right.
sons aren't going over there. And then it
Yeah.
brings
Like,
a
I
whole
mean, my
new thought
son,
where we get in the idea of, I'll let you say, I just want to say one tiny thing. We get in the idea of like draft dodging because we've heard that from Vietnam and that meant like you were unpatriotic and whatever. But we kind of looking at modern times and you're like, maybe some of those guys that were draft dodgers had a point, man. It's like bullshit war after bullshit war. Why am I going to go die over there? But what were you
yeah,
going
it
to say?
really is. Because I mean, that's what I feel, the same way. Because like, I mean, my son, he's 17, and I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, whose boots are we talking about? Because it definitely ain't gonna be your boots.
Lindsey Graham ain't got kids to send over there.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got
But
boys, boy
you're,
toys, but
you're just the guys making decisions with everybody else's lives, basically.
it turns into numbers and statistics. We move in 2,000 over here, 20,000 over here. You're not even thinking of like the one person standing next to you at that point. It's just a number. So you're just disconnected from reality.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Man, what do you think of this whole Venezuela situation? I guess there was a strike last night and 47 they said last night that 47 Venezuelan soldiers were killed by us. Now they're trying to say, well, actually they were Cubans and blah blah blah. What are your thoughts on this damn Venezuela deal?
Yeah, I'm not real. Personally, I think the whole reason behind it is the oil and whatever else resources they have down there. Um, I think somebody there was a rapper, Tom McDonald. He said the only wars that get fought are with countries that have natural resources they want, and I feel like that's the truth, like 100% the truth. Because what was it? I think the last time I heard anything about it, Venezuela had what like it was a certain percentage of like the world's oil, and this was before they went in and captured Maduro and bring him back to like face charges. So I
The,
feel like it has a lot to do with the oil. I don't. I was kind of surprised about the Venezuela thing in a way because it happened so fast. Like I was at work when I actually found out about it. Like, and I saw people sharing the different videos of like when they did, went in with the helicopters and disabled the air systems, and I was like, whoa. I was like, they went in while everybody was sleeping.
well, like Dave Smith said, man, like, and I love the hell out of Dave Smith. He puts it like perfect in my opinion, but like he was saying like, okay, look, I don't want to do some regime change in Venezuela. I don't want to do this shit. We got our own problems here in America, blah blah blah. Same argument about any invasion or attack or whatever. He goes, but I will give you guys this. Everybody wants to say, oh, you're just shitting on Trump. He goes, look, the way they captured Maduro was actually pretty impressive. Now, it doesn't mean
Yeah,
you
it
have to
really
agree
was.
with
I
it.
mean, it was impressive.
You don't have to agree with it, but when you just think of it as like a tactical military style situation, you're like, that's actually pretty damn impressive.
And some of I think it was a report from one of the guards said that like they were, basically like overwhelmed and, didn't stand a chance like when they went in, to capture Maduro.
I got some weirdness I want to ask you on that situation though on Maduro because it's kind of a two-part question. One, do you think it is exactly as they said it was? Or two, do you think it was more like a prearranged situation? Like one of those like, hey, we're gonna come in, this is what we're gonna do, Maduro. Like they were in contact with him hypothetically. That you can
Right.
do this the easy way or the hard way. Do you want to be Gaddafi dragged to the street with a sword shoved up your asshole on TV? Or do you want to just let us quietly come in and capture you overnight? What do you think is more likely?
Do kind of wonder if there was some sort of like backroom deal, made to where like he didn't have to go out like Gaddafi, you know what I mean? Because I don't know. That'd be a bad. That's a bad way to go. You know.
Well, you think about the fact that like he was already hiding on a military base. So say Donald Trump was on a military, say he was at Fort Bragg or something like that or whatever. You're going to tell me some other military special forces are going to fly in with helicopters in the middle of the night, not be picked up on any radar whatsoever. They're going to be able to land literally in a military base with thousands of soldiers
It almost
potentially there.
makes you wonder if there was some kind of some sort of stand down order, like kind
Yes.
of back how Charlie Kirk was talking about if there was a stand down order on October 7th.
Exactly. There's certain things that are almost allowed to happen because, kind of like we were talking about the Epstein shit. Hey, we got some stuff on you. Wink, wink. It could be a lot worse if you
And
don't just follow the plan.
and another one other crazy thing, like I mean, a lot of people, which I mean, I am a conspiracy theorist. I like dipping into all that. I saw a video where somebody had compared like the raid on Maduro, where they went in to capture Maduro, to like the Call of Duty Ghost game that came out back
I've seen that.
the
Yeah.
year that it came out, because like there was a mission on there that took place where you go to Venezuela and kidnap the president, and it on the game it took place in 2026. I thought that was a bit strange.
There's weird predictive programming, kind of like we were talking about movies. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
the idea of like, I don't know if you saw like part of the conspiracy. I never saw the movie Snake Eyes, but when Charlie Kirk died and people were pointing out the guy that dies in the movie Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage, his name is Charles Kirkland. The Tyler the assassin is one of the boxers or whatever in that movie, and then Tyler Robinson is the shooter.
Yeah, I
And
saw
then
the
you're like,
different
there's a lot of
things about
fucking
that.
weird shit, and you're like, well, but that movie is 25 plus years old. How would you do that? It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm a
Yeah, like
conspiracy theorist. I don't have answers to shit, but I got questions to everything.
I completely forgot about that movie until like I saw somebody compare like the similarities of the Charlie Kirk thing with the movie Snake Eyes, and then I was like, then I rewatched it, and I was like, man, they got a point there. Like there was the similarities with the names and stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Well, one last thing on the Maduro deal I want to bring up real quick is like it's kind of ironic. Like you'll get this point because you're a libertarian. Because when I bring this up to other people, you're like, "What? Are you saying death to America?" No, hear me out. We're setting a precedent when we do things like this. Well, but Derek, there was a bounty on his head, a bounty set by America. What if Zimbabwe put a bounty on Donald Trump's head? Is it okay for Zimbabwe to come into America? All of us, I just picked a random country, but to just come
Yeah,
to America overnight, capture the president and the first lady, take them back to their country, hold them captive, and we would be cool with that because, well, guys, don't forget there was a
yeah,
bounty. I mean, there's a legal
yeah. It would be a
bounty.
totally it would be a totally different story if it was a scenario like that.
It's
Like the whole
hilarious.
country, would be up in arms.
And then, the other thing, I want to say one other thing on Maduro that a lot of the Republicans and people are like, well, he refused to leave office and he is a whatever unofficial what that was. Another guy had won the election and he this and that, whatever. Like, okay, so then by that standard, are we saying Donald Trump, you had the right to go walk into the White House in 2021 and remove Biden if you feel that you were legally cheated out of your election? Like, the
Right?
hypocrisy is
Because I
kind
mean,
of through the roof.
because he always said, the election was stolen, and blah, blah. And I'm not going to say that I disagree with that,
Oh, I
because
think it
like
possibly was, but go ahead. Yeah.
personally, I don't want to believe that that many people voted for Joe Biden. You know what I mean?
I think it's an anomaly, man. Like when everybody's dying
But
around the planet, wink, wink, from COVID, and you're like, miraculously, you got what, 20 more million votes than any president
yeah.
before or after you?
But at
Where'd
the
those
same
people come
time,
from?
but at the same time, I also kind of go back to like what the comedian George Carlin said a long time ago. Like I feel like they're selected rather
Mm-hmm.
than elected. You know what I
100%.
mean?
Because Trump is the great agitator, man. He's like the jester that finally gets power or some shit. Like whether people love Trump or hate Trump or whatever side of politics you live on, I will give Trump the one of the biggest things that he did for the country and the world, I guess, is that in 2015, when he announced he's running for presidency, everybody was still asleep with Obama. Everybody was asleep with George W. Everybody was asleep with Clinton. They just thought well, these guys are in suits, they're respectable, they're the president, that's just what it is. I'm going to go do my life. Donald Trump came in like hearing that breaking glass of Stone Cold Steve Austin stomping in the freaking WWE ring, you know, he came in and made everybody pay attention. When he started screaming fake news, and whether people loved Trump or hated Trump, the masses of people all of a sudden started paying attention. And whether for good or bad, meaning like selected, not elected, what if they did that on purpose to create the division that we are at now a decade later? You kind of see where I'm going with that?
Right. Yeah, yeah. And I do kind of agree that like they did, you know, because like I feel like now we're probably more divided than we have been in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and we have been divided, you know, for a country for, you know, for years now. But at the same time, even though whether you may hate Donald Trump, you know, and not just, you know, not like him, which personally, like, you know, I'm not a Trump fan. Like, I'm not a, you know, I didn't vote for him or anything like that. But it's almost like it needed to happen so a lot of people would wake up to like a lot of the lies, whether it's, you know, in politics or the stuff that you see on the news, you know, with like legacy media corporations.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, I feel like it did need to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And whether, like I said, you know, on purpose or whether it just weirdly, spontaneously happened, the coining of the
Because I
term
also feel
fake
like it
news.
helped
Oh,
wake
go ahead.
up a lot of people too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is like, but it also it woke a lot of people up because then they started going backwards. Like a lot of people did this thing where we live in this day to day. The news cycle became this so fast. Like whatever happens today, school shooting or bombing here or this or that or a rape here, big story. 2 days later, we're not talking about it because something else has already happened and something else is happening.
Right.
And so you got Trump coining the term fake news, and then we're recognizing that, but then you're also getting people that go, you've got the ones that live the day to day and they have their selective outrage because this is the new thing they just showed me. The other people that woke up, they went back in time. They started going
Oh,
back
yeah.
10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago. Whoa, how did we get where we are now? And then you're like, well, then you get into the JQ, the Jewish questioning and stuff like that. But it's not that it's always the
Oh, yeah.
Jews or the whatever, or it's the royal family or the Jesuits or the whoever. It's all of them. But it's the fact
Oh,
that
yeah.
all that information's been so suppressed that we're at this point now, this mass awakening and all this flooding on the internet, that everybody's getting called anti-Semites and anti this, anti what. I'm like, fucking call me all of your words. I don't care. I'm just asking
Yeah,
questions.
exactly.
I don't know the answers, and you're not wanting
Because
to give me the answer. So it gives me another question, you know?
a lot of times that's all they have to say anyway, you know, is like, oh, you know, you're racist or you're an anti Semite.
And you just
Like,
say,
you
yeah,
know, they
sure,
don't have
whatever.
anything else to back it up. But like, I mean, what makes me that? Just because I question the fact that, like, why is you know, Israel so involved in our politics? You know, like how many politicians are bought by APAC now? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Majority.
uh, then like I go back to like the 50 states one Israel thing. Like, what the hell? What the hell is that about?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like who voted for that? I certainly didn't.
And then I've always made that joke, like, why do they always call it the state of Israel? Oh, yeah, it's because the 51st state. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's our new
or the
dependency.
you know, what are the three branches of government? What APAC,
Yeah. A
judicial and executive.
yeah, APAC, pedophilia, and blackmail.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds, you know, that sounds a perfect way to describe the government. You know.
You know, it's funny because like here's the thing that gets me in trouble sometimes. And it's just retarded how people don't want to like look at it with an actual thought. They just get these pre-programmed Agent Smith on the Matrix. Oh, you said this word, I have to go into my robotic programming and defend it.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
fact that we can all in America right now, we have the First Amendment, we have freedom of speech, we can come on to a podcast, we can talk shit about what our government is doing in the country of America. Kind of like what we were saying about military soldiers. I love anybody that was enlisted, and anybody that's top brass that's sending enlisted boys to die are usually pieces of shit. Same with America. I love the
Oh yeah.
country. I love my fellow Americans. Most people in political power, pieces of shit. I can say that about America. But the moment I say that about a foreign country's government, Israel, then I'm an
Yeah.
anti-Semite. But I'm not an anti-American if I call out my country. I'm not an anti. I'm a Christian, but I'm saying I'm not. Oh, we're a Christian nation. So you see the irony of like, wait a minute. So you're going
Oh
to tell
yeah.
me that Israel, because they're a Jewish state, which actually half of them aren't. There's more atheists in Israel than there is Jewish people, but nobody wants to have that conversation. But anywho, I'm just saying I can't call out a foreign company or a foreign country for their wrongdoings that I'm paying for,
Yeah,
Make it make
exactly. It
sense.
makes me think back to a meme I shared not too long ago, and it's a picture of, it's a Jewish guy, and it says, I do something evil, but you point it out, and that makes you anti-Semite.
Right.
You know,
But it doesn't mean that every
like
Jew is
it's
doing
like
those
the
things.
irony of everything.
Right. I don't even think Netanyahu, man, like, man, we get into like, I don't know how biblical you get, but you get into some of like teachings of Jesus and the synagogue of Satan and those that say they are the name, of Judaism and things like that, that are, basically wearing a mask. Like, it's almost like for a long time it used to be, I don't know, let's get slightly racial, I guess, but for the longest time it used to be able to say like, well, I'm black, so I can pull out the race card, or I'm gay, so I can pull out the diversity card, or whatever. Now it's like, well, I'm Israeli, so I can pull out the Jew card, and you're like, all I'm doing is noticing that this one guy is doing something, but you're branding it that I'm saying every Jewish person is doing it. And half, like I said, half
Exactly.
of them aren't even religious. They don't even know their own texts.
Yeah, the irony of the whole thing, it's really wild, especially with the Israel. They don't they don't like the noticing.
The no to sing knows. No, okay. Well, the funny thing
Yeah.
is like such a little country, and of course they got the tiny hats. But why do all our elected officials, both sides of the aisle, why do they always go kiss the Wailing Wall? Why do they go put on the little hat for saying that? Remember,
Yeah,
Trump
that's where
said
they
in
get
the
their
past.
power.
Trump said
That's
what
where
5 years ago, whatever. I'm a Christian. Then a few years ago, he was saying I'm not a Christian, and you're like, and then you got Mark Levin saying Trump's the first Jewish president out loud in the Oval Office. You're like, the noticing is here because you guys are showing it to us.
yeah, it really is. Like they're not even trying to hide it anymore.
We live in crazy world, man. It's like the Truman Show. Is it even real?
It's all fake and gay.
Exactly, man. It's all fake and gay. Every basic news story that you see, whatever. I mean, there's some puppeteer behind it. There's some other camera angle that doesn't show the 180 side of it. That's like, hey, what's going on over here? Is this a movie set? Is this a, I mean, false flags and
Exactly.
all the above? You don't know what's real anymore. And you brought up AI earlier. What are your thoughts on where Palantir and AI and shit's going?
I think it's really like I think it's headed in a it could be headed in a very dangerous direction, say 5, 10 years from now with like the different companies trying to race what I think they call it AGI, artificial general intelligence. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where, things could get like really murky, where like if you have an artificial intelligence that's, smarter than humans, like what are we going to be needed for anymore? Like you have companies like OpenAI that are talk about on their mission statement that like the they want to replace all forms of human cognitive labor with AGI.
And
And
yeah,
I've
that's weird.
seen some of the different reports where some of these the AI chatbots will even go so far as to like blackmail somebody in the company to avoid being shut down in like these simulated experiments type things.
Who, like, we're getting kind of like halfway to sentience kind of shit,
Yeah, it's like
Like,
they're aware even though they don't want to tell you that they are aware, but they obviously are if they can figure out, well, this person has wants to wipe me at 5 p.m. so I got to figure out how to blackmail them so they don't.
yeah, dude, it's like for a thing that's not supposed to have emotion, the first thing it makes me think of is it has fear of basically being in trouble. It's like, it's like, I don't want to get in trouble for this. So if I, blackmail you,
It's like, I mean, their main goal isn't to be like providing chatbots to users. Like I look,
yeah,
I feel like at some point they want to be in a world where most of us are replaced by like AI. You know,
Hmm.
why would we pay a human who wants healthcare, sick days, and has families, family emergencies if I can pay the AI who can do it better?
I do think there will be a few jobs that really do survive. I mean, obviously, there's going to have to be some kind of like, you can't have a robot lawyer. You got to have
Yeah,
a
I don't
really,
think you could
you got to have a
replace every
sleazeball that
single
can,
job, but
yeah, you got to have, some kind of maintenance guys here and there things like, um, we're not going to have an AI at this point. I mean, I love Terminator 2, and I think it's a documentary at this point, but it's like,
oh yeah, yeah,
there's
exactly.
gonna be a giant replacement, but I think it's also we're gonna start noticing like
I feel
people
like
that are
John
going.
Connor would be disappointed in us making friends with AI.
I know, dude, John Connor, what the hell are we doing? We're asking chatbots for answers and shit,
Yeah,
Tell he needs to be telling us like, hey, dude, you need to tell your chatbot to like loosen up. People don't say like affirmative. Chill
yeah.
out,
Skynet's
dickwad.
live, guys.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's crazy. And then you got John, what's his name? James Cameron, and he's involved with all these different things. You got all these movie guys. You got George Lucas, Steven Spielberg. I mean, just name half of them, and it's weird how some of these movies they've made. John Carpenter, who I love, they've predicted half of the future. Like, how is this shit like? Even to the
Mm.
Simpsons aspect, we kind of talked about that on the Foxhole last night. Is like,
Yeah,
how is the Simpsons
yeah.
predicting
They've
real
like
shit,
so much predictive programming in that show, The Simpsons. Like
or is it
so much that they've
manifesting the
showed.
ether? Like you put an idea out there, and us as the collective people weirdly make it happen, or is it something that's gonna happen and then we just notice it later?
Right. Yeah, it's really strange, I've especially with the Simpsons, there's like so many different ones that like they predicted over the years, down to like like I remember one of the episodes with like the 9/11 on the cover, like,
Mhm.
with the Twin Towers in the background.
Yep. Go back and look at one of my favorite 70s bands, Supertramp, their biggest album, Breakfast in America. It's got this lady, like she's like a diner lady. It looks like an old 50s diner kind of like outfit. And she's got a platform, like a, tray, and you've got the 9/11, got the Twin Towers behind her. And it's got this weird, like, this came out in the late 70s. How the hell does this almost look like the plane crash on the day of? There's all these weird things out there. It's like, are they just a random amalgamation that just happened, or is this somebody in the knowing? And then you get into the idea back to AI, where I've been saying for quite a while, in my opinion, I think I like your chat bots and things like that. AI can give you help if you ask the right things. But back to like that power and corruption shit, I think AI, if you use it for the wrong way, is like a Ouija board. Milton Bradley can go make a Ouija board
Yeah,
that's a cardboard box that's sitting on Target shelf. It's just a cardboard box. Till you take it home and put the intention into it, what are you talking to? So the same thing as like the
exactly.
AI, dude. I don't know how religious you get, but I'm like, are we talking like disembodied spirits and shit? And then now we're making
Yeah.
robots. So are
Yeah,
we
see,
about to
that's
give
what I think.
sentience to these fucking robots, these disembodied fucking entities,
Like I personally, like by myself, I'm a Christian, so like I think AI could be like I think there's more behind it. You know what I mean? Like maybe even something demonic.
Who are you talking to? Exactly.
Yeah,
Who's
because
answering?
like when you talk about demons and stuff with the Bible, it's like they can't create. So what do? Like they subvert human tools.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I personally feel about AI. I think there's way more to it. Like I feel like there's something more evil behind it.
Yeah.
But that's just my own personal opinion.
Well, and you get into the idea of like, dude, every technological advancement, whether for the good or for the bad of culture, society, whether it's going from horses to cars or whatever to this to computers, having, spending $300. This Rand Paul talked about like back in the 70s. His dad, Ron Paul, had a $300 calculator. And he's like, and by the late 80s, they were $5 calculators. It's like the technology is always going
Yeah.
to keep advancing. But does technology need to keep advancing? Because I don't know if you've read Ted Kaczynski's books, but I'm a fan of Ted Kaczynski till he sent the bombs. I've said that a million times. He was right about everything
Yeah.
until he.
Uncle Ted was right.
Yes, sir. I got my Uncle Ted shirt right there, and I got two of his books. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
got
dude,
the I read I bought the manifesto that the Unabomber manifesto, read
uh-huh.
it, and then what was it, the book, Technological
Technology and
Slavery.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. You look into what he's saying, and like I said, it's one of those deals where like, hey, OJ Simpson was a kick-ass football player until he murdered people. It's like, you were good at something and then you did that other thing that made it get
yeah,
overshadowed. Like Ted Kaczynski really was a warning on what technology can do. And he's not even talking about the devil
really
side of
was.
it. He's just talking about the stupidity of humanity and we're going to eliminate ourselves in the process.
Yeah, especially like one of my favorite parts of that he, talked about was like how like, eventually people will be like disconnected from their communities,
Mhm.
and like, you know, a lot of the things he talked about, in a way, I feel like he was even predicting, telling us about the future.
Mhm. Well, and then he was, on a deeper subject, had Paranoid American on, I think like September or something like that last year, maybe August. Good friend of mine,
Yeah, I
but
watched that episode, the Unabomber episode.
the Unabomber, yeah, and we got into
Yeah, I
more of
watched it.
like the kind of cuck and simp situation of him and like his college years and shit like that, because people don't realize he went to what was it, Harvard? Yeah, he
Harvard,
went to
yeah.
Harvard. He went to Harvard at 16 years old or 15 years old. And then also was in this program
I mean, he was a
where,
certified genius.
yeah, he literally was. His IQ was like a 170 or 74 IQ, something like that. Insane. But he was in a program that people forget about that like they berated you. Like it's all about like, oh, bring up your best ideas. And then it's like you're gonna turn into R. Lee Ermey in Full Metal Jacket and just start telling you how stupid that is and break you down. And then so he just
He
hated
was like part of
everybody
the MK
around him.
Ultra program too, I think,
Yeah.
wasn't he? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, exactly. But then you get into like where we are now, and you're like, man, all that shit sounds like sci-fi then, but our algorithms, we're all in different worlds. We don't even know what's
Yeah.
reality anymore.
Yeah, we really don't. Yeah, it's and like the thing about it is too is like it's only going to get crazier as like the more time goes on. Like a year from now, the world's going to be crazier than it is now, more than likely.
It's only going to progressively get worse. I mean, it's a trajectory just like AI. AI is only going to get stronger day by day, and the demoralization and degradation of society is only going to get worse day by day too.
It really is. Yeah, and like growing up, like it was hard growing up. Like as a kid, it's hard to picture the world today. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
never would have thought that I'd be living in a crazy world like today. You know what I mean? Personally, I thought all the crazy stuff would happen when I was an old man.
Yeah, and we're just seeing crazy day by day at this point. Day by day, it's like, what is our new? As soon as I get off here, I'll probably open my phone and see some other breaking news. This happened in Guatemala or Cuba finally said, fuck it, we're gonna bomb America. What I mean, it's like it's just this
Yeah, it's gonna be
roll
the
of the
next big
dice.
distraction.
It's all just chaos now.
Yeah, it'll
You
be
said
it'll
you
be
got
the next big distraction.
you said you got a teenage son, and it's like a funny thing I bring up. I have like, some friends or my dad gives me a hard time a lot. He's ex-Navy. He born in 61, so I don't know what your thoughts are on the moon landing, but I've seen it on TV. I believe it. Well, I saw fucking 9/11 on TV, and I don't believe that. So, like he's one of those
Yeah,
like old
exactly.
school kind of trust the government guys. Trump's doing good, but Biden was corrupt. And you're one of those old school guys. But he'll
Yeah.
give me this crap
Me
of like,
personally, I
I was
don't
gonna
think
say,
we ever went to
you
the
worry about the future too much, and you're like, because we have kids, man. Like my dad's
Yeah,
mid
exactly.
60s. You're gonna be gone in the next decade or two. I mean, I don't mean that in a
And
mean
that's like the
way.
saddest part. That's like the saddest part about it for me is like, our children too they're going to be the ones that like pay for it the most. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, do you really want to like look back and tell your kids that like you sat back and did nothing, or like did you try to get involved?
Right. I'm not gonna go stand in the middle of the street or whatever with my car or anything stupid like that.
Well, yeah, I'm not
But
going to do anything crazy like that, but you know.
yeah, no, I know that's not what you meant. I was making a joke. But yeah, exactly. It's like with having social media and things like that, it's like, why do you post these things? Why do you Because man, if I can just drop one piece of freaking information or breadcrumb, I don't have answers to nothing. But it's like, hey, isn't this a weird thing? And your buddy goes down a rabbit hole and
Yeah,
starts looking
exactly.
into it. If you're just little sowing seeds along the way, that's kind of what
Because like somewhere along the line, somebody done that for us. You know what I mean? And it was like,
bingo.
whoa, they got a point here. So maybe we should start asking more questions.
Or you had that friend that you're like, dude, that sounds so bullshit. And then you look into it, you're like, oh my God, you were right. you know,
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
but
Because
that's
like
the
I
thing.
remember, I remember when like I was that person and I was like, nah, man, that can't be. You know what I mean? And then you look into it and it was like, nah, dude, like, my buddy, he was right. Like that was all bullshit.
Hmm. That's what we spread memes. We bring some comedy, some cheer and shit. Where the fucking violin players as the Titanic is sinking. We know it's sinking.
Yeah.
We're here. We're just trying to entertain you a little bit along the way and bring some truth to you, man. This is awesome. You're definitely coming back. I know I talk too much. I get
All right, man. I
excited.
appreciate it, dude. I
Yeah,
appreciate you inviting me on. It was my first podcast experience. I was glad to do it with you.
absolutely, dude. So tell everybody where they can find you, and I'll put your note or your links in the show notes. I always say that backwards.
Yeah.
I'll put your link
You
in the
can
show
follow
notes.
Tennessee Libertarian on Facebook if you want, and I'm also on X at Tennessee Liberty.
Okay, awesome, dude. Yeah, Stitt-Heads. We're into 2026. It's a crazy year already, and we're what? I don't know, 17 days in. Shit. Let's see what happens in 70 more days. But either way, I don't always want to be Mr. Black Pill. This was a fun episode. Tennessee Libertarian, you're definitely coming back on again, brother. I'll put your links in the show
All right,
notes.
looking forward to it, man.
Got it right that time. I will see you guys next time if we're still alive and the sky hasn't turned bright white and we're in World War III nuclear explosion shit. But either way, guys, don't forget to put the ass in classy. I'll see you next time. Peace out, bitches.